Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you have not seen any of my previous videos. Today's episode is a special one. Today's episode is actually going to be a crossover of my YouTube channel and my podcast. If you have never listened to my podcast, it is called Daily Kaylee, essentially a true crime podcast, and you can find it on most platforms. My favorite are Spotify and Apple. You can look for this anywhere and it'll pop up. So, today's case is about Joan Risch. Joan lived in Lincoln, Massachusetts, and this case took place within a few hours on October 24th, 1961. If you have never heard of this case, don't feel bad because I was blown away by this case. I had never heard of it before until I was doing some research. This case has been open for over 58 years. It has never been solved, which is why this segment is called Ice Cold. All of the cases that I will talk about on this series are completely cold cases. No leads, no suspects, nothing. Completely cold. I put down a P. Louise base on my eyes, and I've never used it before, and clearly I think I put a little too much, but we'll make it work. I always go ahead and do my base before I film these videos because I feel like that's the most boring part and it takes the longest. But if you have not seen my previous video, basically what I do is I put concealer in the T-zone, set that with powder, and then do bronzer, blush, and brows. That's all I do for my base. So the look I'm going for today is like a yellowish purple vibe. And I actually saw Bailey Sarian do this on a Facebook video, and I think it fits today's theme. A little backstory on Joan. She had a pretty decent life, I would say. She had a husband and a couple of kids. They were a decently wealthy family. They weren't excessively rich, but they weren't struggling, they weren't poor. Joan lived a pretty happy life. Her husband Martin was a businessman and she was a stay-at-home mom. She had a daughter and a son, and her son was the youngest. He was 2 years old. There was really nothing out of the ordinary in Joan's life until this day, October 24th, 1961. Joan wakes up, starts her day like normal. She gets the kids ready for the day, makes breakfast, goes out and checks the mail, all of that. And then around 1 p.m. is when things start to get a little suspicious and out of the ordinary for Joan. She lays her 2-year-old son down for a nap like she does every day. And normally he naps for about 2 hours, between 12 and 2. At 1 p.m., while her son was asleep in his crib, she takes her daughter to the neighbor's house for a play date. This seems like a perfectly normal thing to do, especially for a mom like Joan. She needs some girl time to herself. However, she insists that the neighbor do not bring her daughter home until Joan comes back to get her. She just needs to run a few errands, and she needs to make sure that the neighbor takes care of the daughter while she's gone. At around 2 p.m., the neighbor brings the little girl home anyway. I mean, she's a mom too. She has things to do. This playdate has lasted longer than usual, and she has not heard from Joan. When she gets there, the daughter goes inside, and within the next 10 to 20 minutes, ends up back in the neighbor's yard. And when the neighbor approaches her and says like, "Hey, what's wrong? Why are you here, not at home?" She tells the neighbor that her mom is gone and that the house is covered in red paint. The neighbor goes and checks it out, calls the police, and essentially what the police find is from the bedroom all the way down the hallway and into the kitchen, every piece of the house between these areas is covered in blood. They at first suspect that Joan has been abducted. Someone's taken her out of the house. This is out of the ordinary. She would not leave like this. Except her son is still asleep in his bed. When the police test this blood, they find that it matches Joan's blood type. All of this blood is leaking out of Joan. The only people who have seen Joan today are her dentist that she had an appointment with that morning and the neighbor who she dropped her daughter off with for a play date. They check with these people and they both say nothing was out of the ordinary with Joan. She was her normal, cheerful self. She looked forward to spending the day with her children like she did every day, waiting for her husband to get home. Nothing. They didn't suspect a thing. Only suspects that the police have at first of anyone who could have taken Joan were her husband Martin, the mailman, and the milkman. These are the only people who have visited the home today at all. All of them had alibis. So once again, they're back to square one. They have nothing. At this point, the police searched the entire house. They're looking for any clues that Joan could have packed a suitcase, taken bank withdrawals, something with her to leave. Nothing. They found that she cashed a check the day before, and once they added up all of the expenses that she had gone through today, she would have only had about $10 left out of this check. There's no way she would have came into any sum of money to leave town without telling anyone. They also find some really suspicious library books that Joan has been checking out. These books are all about how to disappear with no one knowing, how to fake your own death, how to stage a murder, super suspicious books and things that Joan would not normally be reading. Now, the police suspect Joan wanted to fake her death. Maybe she became unhappy with her domestic life and she wanted to leave. Later that day, the police talked to a few witnesses who claimed that they thought they could have seen Joan walking down the street. There were multiple alleged sightings of Joan between a few hours of the afternoon. The majority of these witnesses claim that when they saw Joan walking, she seemed extremely disoriented and she was wearing a trench coat. Now, let's get into the theories. There's one witness who claims that there was a strange car parked in Joan's driveway. This car has been traced to maybe belong to a doctor. This theory is that Joan was pregnant and wanted an abortion, which at this time was not legal in Massachusetts. It was extremely frowned upon, and they suspect that this doctor came to her house to essentially give her an abortion. Things went wrong, she started bleeding out, and she panicked and left because this, once again, is frowned upon, and her husband did not know that she was pregnant. Another theory is that Joan was covering up a murder in her home, which, once again, is not very reliable because this blood matched her own. Her son was sleeping, he was safe. And the last theory is that an intruder came into the home, attempted to harm Joan, succeeded in harming Joan, and she fled, trying to escape to a hospital, and disappeared. Others believe that Joan may have walked through a construction site that was going on downtown and fell in, and before anyone could notice was pretty much built into the concrete of a building downtown. There's not much evidence to support this other than the fact that she did walk right by this construction site and was never seen again. This case remains open to this day, and Joan's family believe that she is 100% dead. Her associates, her neighbors, they all believe that she is dead. They do not believe that she would have left her family willingly. Let me know what you guys think of this case. This is the finished look, by the way. It's literally just a bright yellow look. I wanted to bring some sunshine to your Christmas week. I hope you guys enjoyed, and there will be more. Bye, guys.